This Mancast is rated TVMA for language. Viewer discretion advised.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Here we are, the Mancast NV, episode 6.1. Y'all know me, I'm your boy, Man of Steel 14 here.
I'm MV Tracker.
And you know you got Mr. Chocolate over here, who is hella digging our intro music. Great choice. And it's by I Am of Terror. It's their newest song, House of Cards. You can check it out on YouTube. Just search them up. Great freaking band. Big things coming to them. They've been touring with bands like Chiodos, hitting up Warped Tour. Great guys. You need to hop on that, dude. That's some great music. I'm loving it.
Yeah, and also on top of that, guys, coming in soon, Whiskey Sirens Burlesque. We're going to be interviewing them. We're going to have them on the show. Hopefully we can get them to do a little performance for us. We'll see what happens. Make sure you guys check them out on Facebook. Whiskey Sirens Burlesque. Make sure you check them out.
Yes.
Beautiful women, and they have a great message for all you women out there. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that within the next week or so. But right now, segment 1, top news of the week. Here we go.
What's up, my gangsters? So what we're bringing for you today, we gotta talk about it. Tony Stewart, big news. All charges against him were dropped in the death of Kevin Ward. Very tragic thing that happened. But the details of the case are still freaking, I would definitely say, debatable. Would you agree? Because you can...
100%.
You can easily say when this accident happened, let me drop back a second. Tony Stewart, Kevin Ward, they're in a race. Stewart ends up hitting Ward's car. Ward spins out a little bit, ends up crashing. Ward hops out of his car, goes into the lanes of the racetrack, and then Stewart at this point ends up hitting Ward, and then Ward unfortunately ends up dying due to blunt force trauma. And so many people say Ward was in the wrong, you shouldn't step out of your car, which is absolutely true, no doubt about that. But then when you see it, many cars pass by Ward when he's standing on the track, and they all slow down, go around him, nobody hit him, no one was going fast. And it can be debated and argued that Stewart actually sped up and accelerated his car when going by him. I do believe that's true. I've seen the video. And the thing is, I think he was going to scare Ward, kind of just like, what are you going to do, bruh? And just go around him, something like that. Then hit him and was like, oh shit, this is terribly bad. What's going on? That's my opinion of it. The whole thing's about the charges getting dropped. We'll get into that a little bit later. I just want to know, what do you think happened? Why did Stewart hit him?
He never should have got out of the car in the first place.
Of course.
But racers do that all the time, whether it be in NASCAR or the dirt track where this happened. But you know what? Those cars are unpredictable on the dirt track.
Yeah.
I would hate to be in the jury of that case, or whoever it was that had to decide that the charges were dropped,
Absolutely.
or whatnot. But I would have, I couldn't imagine saying he was guilty or not guilty. There was so many unknowns in that case that it was almost just too hard to tell. He never should have got out of his car. Period. That's the end of it. But then, like you said, the other cars were driving right by him, and nobody hit him. You can hear in the video that possibly Tony Stewart's car's engine revved, and it sounded like he accelerated, which would have caused the tail end to slide out, and that's what could have possibly hit him. But Tony Stewart should not have even been going that fast.
Well, and the thing is, sorry to interrupt you, Tony Stewart is a professional driver. His job is to drive a car very fast.
One of the best
and
drivers.
Very well. And he is damn good at it. As Man of Steel 14 just said, he should definitely know how to avoid hitting somebody on the road. He should absolutely know how to do that. I guarantee you, had that been Barack Obama on the road, bet you $1 million he wouldn't have hit him. I know for a fact there's no chance he would have hit him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's what I think the biggest sketchiest thing about it is. It's like, dude, you're a professional. That's where negligence should come into, just because you know how to avoid hitting someone on the road. I know how to avoid hitting someone on the road, and I can't drive a car as good as you.
Well, this is what will tell you the answer. They have performance monitoring computers on every single one of those cars to monitor how the engine's doing, what the racer's doing, so they can come back, and it's like game tape for the NFL. It's like, you revved on this corner too much, and you did this is what happened. So in that way, they could go back to the time when that race happened. They can tell whether or not he touched that gas or that brake or turn the steering wheel. Now, if he was turning his steering wheel and the car didn't turn, it's not his fault.
Absolutely.
If he was applying brake and the car wasn't stopping and he ended up hitting him, it's not his fault.
But shouldn't he have applied the brake a lot sooner?
Yes.
Of course.
But it might have been what Mr. Chuck said. Hey, I want to scare him, then I'll swerve out of the way at the last second, and he didn't.
I'm going to hop on that real quick.
Involuntary manslaughter.
Exactly. Because if I point a gun next to Man of Steel 14's head just to scare you because you pissed me off, but I accidentally sneeze and shoot you in the face, I should still go to jail, should I not?
Yeah, no, absolutely. But then it goes back to the should he have gotten out of his car. The man knew full well that there were very powerful cars coming along that track very fast, and they were on a very unpredictable track.
You know, he was a young kid. He had a hot head.
Too bad.
You know, that's ultimately what it was.
I agree with you. I agree.
Fight or flight, man.
I agree. Ward should not have gotten out of his car. That's not even debatable. He shouldn't have gotten out of his car. But he was pissed off, you know. He was probably heated. He gets out of his car. He does get in the road. So, yeah, there's a good bit of, like, fault on Ward, definitely. However, Stewart should definitely have been able to avoid him. There's no doubt about in my mind that he should have been able to avoid him. Even if I was in his car, it was my first time in a car going that fast, I think I wouldn't have hit him. Probably would have ended up swerving out and hitting some other guy, if we're honest with ourselves. But I think I would have been able to avoid him. I guarantee Stewart could have as well.
So, but if you're heated and you want to fight this guy, wouldn't you want to wait until he's out of the half-ton vehicle that can obliterate you with one hit and fight him after the race?
I mean, you'd want to, yeah.
But at the same time, if I just wrecked my car and I'm heated, I'm probably going to get out of my car and at least flip him off. I wouldn't walk that far into the track.
Exactly.
Maybe would have flashed him my dick or something, but I don't know if I would have just walked in the track.
I would have distracted him and made him hit you just off of that.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I know if I was driving and somebody rear-ended me, the first thing I would do is jump out of my car, regardless of where I am, and I'd be like, what the fuck, dude?
Exactly.
Just like Kevin Ward did,
No.
you know? But,
I'd wait until I'm like, okay, there's no cars. Okay, now I can jump out and beat his ass.
you know, I've seen instances where drivers jump out of their car on NASCAR tracks, much, much faster cars. And they take their helmets off and actually throw it at the vehicle as it's driving by them.
Yeah.
You know, and that's big no. Like, that's even worse than a dirt track. I mean,
Oh, of course.
you know, it's you know, horrible. I feel horrible for Kevin Ward and his family. You know, I understand that he had his best friend take over his race car a few races later for him. You know, Tony Stewart had someone step in for him for, 3 or 4 races, I believe.
So.
And, you know, Tony Stewart's back racing. It's almost like nothing happened. But ultimately, he's going to have to live with that on his conscience.
True.
You know? He killed somebody. You can't get over that.
Absolutely, and I think that almost makes it fair. I'm sorry to the families of Ward. I don't mean to say the word fair as in, okay, all is good.
Yeah.
But I mean it as, I do believe that Stewart was going to intimidate him or something like that.
Yeah.
Accidentally killed him. That's something you got to live with for the rest of your life, as Man of Steel 14 just said. And so I think, like, that's a lot of punishment. I can't even imagine if I was to kill someone, I might not be alive after that. You know what I'm saying? Just because that's a lot. Exactly.
The guilt factor. That's what they don't really account for, you know, in the punishment system.
But now you guys heard why the charges were dropped, right? Because apparently Kevin Ward had marijuana in his system. Now, whether or not he was high at the time of the race or he had it a week prior, like, what do you guys feel about that?
Here's what I read.
You would think the tox levels would come in. It's like, if he's got a pretty high tox level, okay, he smoked weed right before the race. If it was a pretty low tox level, then he did it a while ago.
See, and I heard that the latest report showed that his tox level or his detox level showed that he had enough marijuana in his system to where he would have been impaired driving, you know? And so,
that kind of makes more sense then.
Okay, but still, imagine, say I got high one time. I'm sure if I got on my car and was going to, like, stand on the edge of traffic, I wouldn't blame being high as the reason that I get hit by a car. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, maybe if I was on, like, crap, I can't think of the name of the drug. I want to say speed or something like that. Those drugs that make you feel invincible, that you see crazy YouTube videos.
PCP?
Yeah,
exactly.
Angel dust, there you go.
Stuff like that. Maybe if I was doing that, or if he had that in his system, then I'm like, yeah, he probably thought he was invincible.
But, you know, I'm going to go back to a story that happened, I want to say 5 to 7 years ago in Reno, where we're broadcasting out of. There was this instant where I want to say it was a Reno police officer or a possible NHP trooper, a Nevada Highway Patrolman, on their motorcycle, was going code 3, lights and sirens, to a call, going down a street, and a lady pulled in front of him. And the motorcycle T-boned her. He ended up getting killed in that instance. They ended up doing the blood test on her. She came up positive for marijuana that she had smoked many days prior. Instant felony for her. She's probably still in jail to this day for killing a police officer. You know, marijuana's close to being legal. You know, especially
it's legal
in Nevada.
some places.
Yeah.
Well,
You know,
legal or
and-
not, it's going to get treated like alcohol. I mean, it'd be like you're driving under the influence of alcohol.
Well,
Exactly,
the
but it's
thing is,
harder to tell when it was smoked.
And don't quote me on this, but my friend, her father's a law officer, and he was saying something along the lines of they don't have like a system that's cost efficient and effective and like reliable how breathalyzing is, you know, for weed. It's kind of, we can test your blood and we know, okay, you smoked weed in the last 14 days maybe, but they don't have anything to show, dude, he smoked weed an hour ago, he's definitely this buzzed off of the weed, or maybe he was just hotboxed or something like that. So definitely in that instance, that's so rough. If she smoked weed 3 days ago, now she's in prison, you know? And I mean, people, they accidentally pull out too far and maybe just rip the front end off their truck if a lady hits them on accident. Stuff like that happens.
Yep.
And so that's just unfair, you know?
Yeah, but, you know, I feel horrible for Kevin Ward. I don't think all of the charges should have been dropped or expunged on Tony Stewart because of the marijuana charge. Okay, it would have gave a good reason, possibly why. No, I'm not even going to say that. It could have altered the state of mind of Kevin Ward, but it's not going to make him walk in front of a moving car, like you said, Mr. Chocolate. No. I still believe Tony Stewart maybe not have jail time because he has enough money where he would have made bail anyways, but possibly community service of some sort.
Which, and I agree with that 100%, but I gotta say, of course, community service, that's not enough, you know, to go against death, you know? We were talking last week about someone started a fire and we should say that we should burn him alive, you know? So obviously, freaking community service isn't enough, but in this case, you know, with someone who has so much money, you know, jail time... Yeah, I know what you mean. I get what you're saying. And what we're saying is, at the least, something should have happened to Tony Stewart.
Well, here's what can be punished. You know, the NFL has a system for punishing people. So why shouldn't the NASCAR? Why shouldn't they punish him?
The NFL system of punishing people sucks.
I know it does, but they have a system. The NBA has a system. All the leagues have a system. So why doesn't NASCAR?
Real quick, I'm going to hop on this because that's a great question. Why doesn't NASCAR have a system? Why don't all professional sports have a system? But then when you said that the NFL system sucks, that reminded me, you know, a lot of people think this justice system sucks. A lot of people think currently cops suck. There's so much hatred going on between civilians and cops and how the police force is just like being militarized, you know, like getting freaking assault weapons, crazy armored vehicles and stuff like that. And a lot of people think this is just unnecessary. Then a lot of people think they're the cops. They're here to serve and protect. Why is this a bad thing? What's your opinion on that subject?
Jumps right into the next topic of police brutality and the militarization of police.
So that's what we're going to talk about.
To a degree, I think that, you know, cops need to be well armed against the rising threat of criminals because they're getting better weapons. The more our police force gets better weapons, so are the criminals. They're just becoming more available, and you know, the weapons factories aren't going to stop producing, so there's going to be more of them available. But when you go to Arizona, and as redneck as I am, and as much as I love tanks and firearms and BS, when one of the sheriffs down there gets a tank to show off, I mean, you're spending $1.5 million of taxpayers' money to get basically a glorified parade float. Unless they're actually going to use that thing, what are they going to use it for?
I agree with that.
Are they going to come tearing down Scottsdale, fucking blowing holes in all the nice homes down there? What are they going to do with that?
Very good point. Very good point there.
That's crossing the line. Now, if you want to better equip your SWAT teams with like infrared and BS and stuff like that, okay, great. Because when the SWAT team gets called, shit hit the fan.
Of course.
And it is bad news. So arm those guys. Don't put a tank in the hands of a sheriff.
Well, see, the thing is, you're mentioning, like, we're going to arm the SWAT team. That's a great idea. But the thing is, as of, like, least recent training in some areas, police have become the SWAT team. Your local officer, your best friend, maybe, who works for a police station, he's practically a SWAT member now with the equipment and the training that they're getting now. And then, you know, of course, we have all those local events going up that have been, not local events, sorry, that's the wrong choice of word, but like national crises or crisi, whatever it is. almost. You know, in Ferguson, for example, we have the first killing that happened there, you know. Everybody got super heated over that, and there's still been rallies going on. And then just as of like Sunday, there was a drive-by on Interstate 70, I want to say, and it was just an off-duty police officer in his personal vehicle, and he was just chilling in his car. I don't know if he was driving. I'm sorry, I don't have the details that well, but sure enough, a car drives up to him, and I believe it was 3 black guys in the car, and they just started busting caps into the car.
Okay, let me ask you something, because I heard that a police officer was shot in Ferguson.
Yeah.
And, you know, it sparked a lot for me, but I didn't hear the full story. Now, did those 3 people target him because he was a police officer? Did they know he was a cop?
Well, okay, see, what you're... Two police officers got shot at on Sunday. And I think you might be thinking of the other story. This one...
2 in Ferguson?
2 in Ferguson got shot this Sunday.
Okay.
So this drive-by officer, from what I've read about and from what I've heard, they don't know whether he was targeted because he was an officer or not. You know, just because he was an off-duty cop and he was in his personal vehicle. I'm not sure whether his personal vehicle has lights on it or not. But they did a drive-by shooting on that.
Yeah, you would think.
Exactly.
Yeah. If it's his personal vehicle, then it's one not provided by the state.
Of course.
The state ones would have lights.
Of course, but then at the same time, why do you do a drive-by on a random person when there's such high heat, you know?
Weird.
And then at the same time, what you were just mentioning, an officer... I believe there was a gathering at the community center in Ferguson, something along those lines. I apologize if I'm not reporting this correctly, if my details are off, but there was a gathering at the community center, a protest or something along those lines, and then a police officer was going around just making sure everything was okay, and then somehow he saw a suspect. Suspect started fleeing from this guy, or from the officer, sorry for calling him this guy. Officer chases after him. The suspect starts firing shots at the officer. Officer fires back, but he's unable to hit the suspect with anything, and the officer does get shot in the arm, so he has to go to the hospital and all. He makes full recovery and all. Well, I mean, it's only been 4 days, but you know what I mean. And so, those are 2 separate events. 2 officers just got shot at. One off-duty in his personal car, you know. Good freaking guy. He had been on force for, I want to say, like 20 years, and I believe he was 48 years old, so pretty much his entire life, you know. And then the other officer, I don't have too many details on him, but either way, you know, he saw a suspect. He didn't fire till he was shot at, you know, and he ends up getting shot. And so that just reminds me, like, that makes me think, well, if I'm an officer, people are shooting at me, well, I want to be trained to take these sons of bitches down.
Yeah, correct.
But, you know, at the same time, you know, Mr. Chocolate, you and I watched this video the other day of a local police department that received an armored vehicle that was used in a war overseas. Now, this vehicle has a V-shaped bottom to prevent the vehicle exploding from IEDs. When was the last time you guys have heard of IEDs used on police in America?
Nope.
Okay.
Landmines? Nope.
You're right. I think you have more to go with this, but I'm going to interrupt you a little bit just because I am really for cops right now, you know? And something I have to mention is, I don't know if you heard this story, but in Las Vegas, there was a couple that went and shot up that innocent cops. They were just on their lunch break or something like that. I want to say they were enjoying pizza. Sure enough.
Is that a CC's, I want to say, maybe? Okay.
Wife and husband, they go into this pizza place, and then I think they said something like, the end is near, or it's just beginning. Something crazy along those lines, you know, you'd expect in a Batman movie. And then, boom. They shoot the officer, and then sure enough, they go into the Walmart. They go into the Walmart, start firing shots. Can't really remember. It happened a while ago. I want to say 1 civilian died, but either way, everybody was going crazy. Imagine you're in that situation. You're in that freaking Walmart. Aren't you going to be glad that our officers are pretty much SWAT now? That our local officers can take on anything?
No.
And I have a little bit more to say with this. I'm sorry. Now, that was just 2 people. And they were saying that this is just beginning. What if they had a crew behind them? They had 20 people that were going to go into that store. Then what are you going to do? Then you're going to be like, oh, please, Lord, officer, come help me, you know?
Call the SWAT team.
No.
That's still going to take a while.
I am 100% pro law enforcement. All the way. It takes a lot for me to not like law enforcement. But in all those situations you just gave, there would be no reason for an armored vehicle that would prevent them from an explosion of an IED.
There's no reason for them to have Gatling guns.
On top of that, the police force, a local police force, had to have this vehicle modified for them at a cost of $50,000.
Yeah,
a vehicle that was donated to the police department. They had to pay $50,000 to have this vehicle modified for the police department. Now, okay, a local company, a metalworking company, donated that work, but I guarantee you it's a tax write-off.
Yep.
Oh,
So at the end, we're paying for that now.
Nope,
So now
guaranteed.
we're paying that $50,000 for the police department to get an armored vehicle, which is completely unnecessary. They have a SWAT vehicle. And you know, I used to volunteer for the police department. I volunteered with them for 5 years. I've been on some crazy motherfucking calls with those guys. Like, to the point where there's a shotgun in the police car, and I had my hand on the shotgun and my button on the switch to unlock the shotgun because I was scared to death.
Damn,
like,
okay.
I understand what they go through.
Of course,
Like,
of course.
I am, because of that, I am extremely pro law enforcement. I have been in situations where I've actually trained with the SWAT team of Sparks. Like, I have been the bad guy, and I have had to try and basically take down the SWAT team in Sparks, Nevada.
How'd that
and
go?
Good
I
luck.
promise you it did not turn out good at all. I was very young and I couldn't even pull the trigger of the gun at the time. I took one of their rubber bullets in the tip of my finger and I couldn't use that finger for a week. Like
yeah.
It's scary. You know, they have flashbangs at their disposal. They have, you know, countless amount of weapons, AR-15s, regular pistols. They got the new strobe lights now on the end of their guns, which is amazing because it throws you completely off balance when the strobe light's flashing in your face. Flashbangs, like the flashbang, they wanted to use one on me for their training. I told them, hell no. Like, that's worse than getting tased.
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
you got
I
a
know
grenade going off, a bright light, it's going to completely disorientate you, and you're just screwed right there. You know, in a hostage situation, I think that's plenty. You know, okay, this crazy psychopath might start busting bullets, but, you know, I think they're equipped good enough now. In your situation you gave, instead of spending $50,000 on this car that we don't need because we already have armored cars, why don't we invest more money in better
armor?
protective body armor? You
Okay.
know, I understand,
That's an
I
excellent.
understand, like, all these rappers in their rap songs talk about, I ain't aiming at your chest, I'm aiming at your face. You know, there's
But a
not
lot of
much
people
you
don't
can
have good aim.
Yeah, there's not much you can prevent about that. But why don't we invest in better body armor?
They're
better
working-
training for cops on how to read body language of crazy sons of bitches. I mean, regardless if someone's gonna ambush you, I guess is the right word. There's not much you can do regardless of what you have or your training.
Right.
There's not much you can do. But I don't think we need tanks. We don't need these armored vehicles. You know, Bomb Squad needs what they need. SWAT needs their big van.
And if there's a serious threat, they've got the National Guard, and then after that, they
The
call
actual military.
Then they have the military.
Okay, absolutely.
And then we're rolling F-35s and M1 Abrams, and whatever is there is dead.
All right.
They're dead. They're going to level the whole town, because at that point, that is a massive danger to whatever's going on. If they're calling the military in on our home turf, something's dead. They're going to level something.
So actually, I'm going to switch to your side real quick. And I completely agree because I live in, Reno, Nevada. We have a relatively low crime rate. We've never, as far as I know, we haven't had the National Guard come in or anything like that. That hasn't been a serious issue.
Other than floods.
Oh,
but
yeah.
No crime related.
So then, I would agree. It's unnecessary. I'm going to switch to your side. It's unnecessary for us to have this equipment, especially because it costs so much. However, I'm going to stick to my original argument. If this stuff was free, which obviously nothing in this world is free, but if this stuff was free, then I would have no problem with the local police force getting whatever they want, honestly. Just because it's been in the news lately that cops have been going crazy. And actually, we'll touch that in a second. That just cops have been going insane. But I just think that's just a few cops,
So you're okay if our local police department is donated a Humvee with a roof-mounted, fully automatic, however,
50 cal.
is it 50 cal machine gun?
Well,
Flamethrowers, grenade launchers on the bottom of their M16s.
Okay,
do
here's-
they need all that? Really?
here's my counter to this. And this is an extremely hypothetical, never going to happen counter. But let's say I owned one of those. Let's say it's legal to own one of those. And then all of a sudden I own two. You and I are good friends. I'm like, dude, Man of Steel 14, you want one of these? It's pretty cool. It's totally free. You have to pay no taxes or anything like that. Just to have it, show your neighbors. It's not going to be loaded, whatever. Wouldn't you be? Okay, this is pretty cool. Might as well take it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
so, okay, I'm just going to hit you at that. Yeah,
Okay,
because I'm going to be a terrible person that you see
Okay.
on TV, who
Okay.
does crap like that. So you ended at, so of course, if a police department is donated something like that, then yeah, they're going to take it. You know, that's kind of, it's cool to have that, you know, it makes you feel like more of a man. And of course, there's plenty of women in the freaking police department.
The counter to that is if you're overconfident in your equipment, you're going to get shot. That's
okay. I completely agree with Tracker.
That's how the military trains them. It's like, okay, you guys got all this badass equipment. Rely on none of it. It's all gonna break. Assume that it's all gonna break. Rely on yourself.
Completely agree with that. Great point.
That's an extremely good point. But what I was trying to make, I'm sorry if I didn't portray this correctly. It's just that I was trying to say, since they were donated this, the $50,000 investment that they have to make, you know, basically, since they were donated it, no, I'm not mad that they have to take it. If they're donated a Humvee with awesome crap on top of it, I'm not going to be mad. But then if they go out of their way, say, hey guys, we have to get a Humvee, or we have to get a tank, we have to get freaking the Bat from Batman's latest movie, then yeah, I'm like, okay, this is a little unnecessary.
So let me tear your argument apart.
Okay.
So there's no such thing as a free donation, especially when it comes to military vehicles. Why can't we keep that specialized tank in Afghanistan to help fight with our troops that are dying against real terrorists? Why do we need it here? Why do we need that M16 with a grenade launcher? Why can't we keep it over there where we actually need to...
Do you think there's a shortage over there? Is there a shortage of weapons going on?
I'm not saying there is, but why are they bringing over a multi-million-dollar vehicle to our home country?
Well, because that multi-million-dollar vehicle, it was donated to us, of course.
But it's not donated. It actually costs us money. Either way, the American taxpayers are taking a hit for this.
Yeah.
Either
okay.
way,
Absolutely. But I'm not gonna argue about it. My taxes are the same pretty much every year, you know. So I'm not gonna
for now. But it's a very gradual little curve.
Okay. Think about it like this. You have a bodyguard, right? He's with you all the time because you're a very important person. Your bodyguard comes up to you telling you, look, NV Tracker, you have some serious enemies. I'm going to get AK-47. I'm just going to keep it in my car at all times so I can have one, just so I can protect you. Okay. And I mean, chances are I won't use it, but it's going to be there for the day that I do.
Okay.
If you're going to do it, right? To protect yourself? Because you got to remember, the cops, I know we look at them as these people that pull us over and give us freaking tickets. These people that exist, you know, to give other people tickets. I'm just gonna keep going real quick. Just because we're never in life-threatening positions. I've personally never been in a life-threatening position. Have you ever had someone point a gun at your face?
No.
Have you ever had a criminal point a gun at your face?
Close to, not exactly at me, at the officer I was with. Yes.
Okay, and so. When it comes to that, I mean, obviously, it's going to take the officers time to respond and stuff like that. But the thing is, when I look at officers, I see them as my personal bodyguard. Of course, they're still going to take 6 minutes to get there or whatever. But in the end, they are there to serve and protect. Even if I do accidentally get shot trying to reach for my license because an officer has been overworked and should not have been in that situation to begin with, but they are there to serve and protect. And I'm thinking if someone's there to protect me, give them all I can, you know? And that goes with officers, that goes with the military and everything like that. They do a lot for us. They genuinely do. Sure enough, sure it does pay for them and it is their career. But my career currently is looking at cameras. I sit in a chair and look at cameras all day, and that's how I pay my bills. These guys put their life on the line, you know. When they pull over someone for a broken taillight, they could easily end up murdered. You don't know what's going to happen. They do so much. So if it's going to come out of my tax dollars and make me pay an extra $1.64 so they can have a freaking tank, whatever. Thank you guys for protecting me.
Exactly. You know, and the law enforcement always has to be one step ahead of the criminals. Whatever the criminals can get a hold of, you know, law enforcement has to be that one step ahead, and they have to have something better.
Name an organization within the United States that can get a tank, aside from the Mexican drug cartel.
Well, you know...
And even then, you're going to see that shit rolling across the border, and they're going to bomb them.
Okay. When we were talking about a tank earlier, I can recall a World's Wildest Police videos on TV where some crazy son of a bitch somehow got a hold of a tank and was driving down streets, running over cars and running over lampposts.
There was another one where he made a tank out of a bulldozer, too.
I mean, there you go.
You're proving the thing is, will it happen every year?
In that case, they just took the SWAT. No cops died. No, and there was one civilian injured in that instance. And they just took the SWAT car and said, okay, everyone's going to get evacuated out of the area that he's in, and we're going to wait until he runs out of gas. And so he ran out of gas. and they flashbanged him, and then he ended up killing himself.
Flashbang. See? Flashbang.
Stuff like that. It's
Non-lethal.
true, but
They don't need lethal shit. They need non-lethal ways to take these guys into the court, into the justice system. We have it in place for a reason.
last week we talked about ISIS, and we talked about, I remember at one point I said, America, we're the best country out there. If you fuck with us, we'll fuck you up. And what I'm thinking at this point is, well, my local officer has a freaking tank, so get as many of your terrorists in my town as you want. Honestly, I'll probably end up dying, but you're not going to take America, because we have tanks, we have $50,000 vehicles that we're upgrading to make them $1 million vehicles. We have all this stuff. So now we have the National Guard coming in, we have the military coming in. For the most part, all it's doing is making me safer. I don't understand why the public would be so against that.
But give it to the actual people that can drive the tanks. How many police officers do you know that's trained, like the military is, to drive a tank?
Okay.
Yeah, but see, our police officers don't need to know how to drive a tank, because that's why we have the National Guard in town. They are licensed to drive tanks. We don't need our police officers to drive tanks.
Okay, well, I'll agree with that. I'll say we don't need to drive a tank, but what you have to remember is escalation. I don't know if you guys seen it, but the very ending scene of Batman Begins, it's Gordon and Batman. They're on top of some building, you know, where the bat light is. And Gordon asks Batman, well, what are you going to do about escalation? Batman's like, escalation? He's like, yes. And he's like, we wear bulletproof vests. They wear armor-piercing round. We get semi-automatics. They buy automatics. And then he says, you're in a cape and a mask. We'll take this guy, for example. And then he shows them the card of the Joker, who's very theatrical, just like Batman. Mm-hmm. And honestly, it's not an exaggeration. Crime escalates, you know? If we get good equipment and stuff that we would say, okay, cops could use that, armor-piercing, bulletproof vest, that's something we could all agree cops need, correct?
100%.
But a criminal can still buy armor-piercing rounds. And then maybe an assault rifle, we're going to be very iffy whether a cop needs that. But I guarantee you a criminal, they're going to have an assault rifle, you know?
Yeah.
And so... no, the cops don't need a tank, but it won't hurt them, and it won't hurt you to have one, because if you get wrongfully shot by a cop, I am willing to put my life savings, like 25 cents on it, that you're not going to get hit by a tank from a cop, you know?
100%, yeah.
And since we're going to talk about wrongfully getting shot by a cop, which isn't going to happen about tanks, what do you think about all these cops going crazy as it's been portrayed, you know, in social media, the internet, the news, that a lot of cops are just messing up, especially against African Americans, you know, just shooting them, what we got going on in Ferguson and everything. What's your opinion on that?
You know, I hate that race is an issue, but it's always going to be an issue, at least for the foreseeable future.
Okay.
Okay.
Kind of.
Yeah. But, you know, like you were talking about earlier with reaching for your license in a vehicle, I'm sure you're referring to the video
Absolutely.
of a black gentleman pulling into a gas station who was pulled over. He had got out of his vehicle, which is
Bad.
Big no-no.
Yeah.
If we need to go back to Kevin Ward, if you are ever pulled over by an officer, never, ever get out of your vehicle. I mean, that is a sign of aggression. But aside from that point, in this video, the gentleman got out of his vehicle,
Absolutely.
looked very respectable, did show no signs of aggression.
Yes.
His in my line of work, I am trained to read body language. By his body language, he looked, you know, he didn't look aggressive at all.
Mm-hmm.
He was very calm. He wasn't, you know, making any movements that would make me suspicious of him.
If I may say real quick, he didn't even know why he was pulled over. He was just
Exactly.
like, okay, this just is a random thing that's happening. He was honestly a really nice guy. Like, he seemed like a great person. But
And
continue.
so the officer says, "Sir, give me your license." And okay, well, the guy turns around, reaches into his vehicle, where it's kind of weird. His license should be in his pocket.
True.
Okay. He reaches into his vehicle as he was coming out?
Before he was coming out, dude. It was
Yeah,
before he was coming out.
out. The officer shot 4 rounds at him. Ended up hitting him in the hip.
And I want to say the 4th round was, his hands were in the air.
Yeah.
When the 4th round was shot, his hands were in the air.
Yeah.
So hold on. So our well-trained police officers we were just talking about that can take on all these criminals shot 4 bullets at this guy from near point blank range and hit him once.
Maybe 15 to 20 feet away.
He hit him once.
Hit him once, which I'm glad about.
And,
absolutely.
he was shooting at gas pumps. Let me remind you.
Yeah,
that
no. I'm totally
With
glad.
multiple vehicles in the background.
I wish he didn't hit him at all, but the fact that he just hit him once, great, perfect. Are you fucking kidding me though?
That is...
Are you kidding?
This is going to be very hard to say. But what I'm going to say is, yes, he definitely should have been capable of hitting him more than one time out of 4 shots.
Yeah. It's not like he was moving or running.
The gun should not have been fired. That's why it's so hard for me to say, like, yeah, he definitely should have hit him 4 times.
Okay.
No, it's not what I'm saying.
But now, at the same point, at the same time, we learn later on that this officer was recently involved in another shooting. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, well, fuck, this guy needs to get fired. But when you figure out about this shooting, the suspect came out of his vehicle with a weapon and shot at the officer first.
So here's what... I'm going to just address this real quick. In my opinion, if I just got shot at 2 days ago, if someone sneezes, I'm going to pull out my gun. Like, are you threatening me? That's what I'm going to do.
100%.
Which is why he should not have been out there. He should have been seeing a psychiatrist that day. What the hell is he doing out there trying...
2 weeks later, you said?
I don't know the exact date.
I couldn't tell you.
But either way...
Could have been 2 months.
He should have had a partner.
He should have been on paid leave for a little bit to just kind of chill out.
And maybe he had that, but still, I'm going to say for at least 8 months minimum. You know, you need backup. You should have at least a partner, dude.
I completely disagree with 8 months. 2 months, I even think is too much. We're gonna pay somebody to sit at home. That's our money. Again,
no, not paid lead. I mean, he's gonna have a partner with him at least.
Yeah, 24-hour
someone in his car with him. That's what I'm saying.
So now you want to pay 2 people to do one person's job.
If you got shot at 8 months ago, isn't that still gonna affect you?
I think.
Okay, hold on. 4 black guys. I'm sorry. This is going to seem racist. Okay, 2 black guys, 1 white guy, and 1 Mexican guy in a parking lot. They come up to you, and they beat the shit out of you. Now, anytime you see 4 guys in a parking lot 10 months later, aren't you still going to be sketched out?
Oh, for sure.
So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. He got shot at. He didn't get the shit beat out of him. He got shot at. So, yeah, I'm going to say he should have a partner. Honestly, most cops should have a partner. You need someone to have your back when you're patrolling the street. We don't have the money for that. Absolutely, we don't have the money for that. So that can't happen. But if you've been shot at, yeah, he should have had a partner.
Kind of go with that same lines. I've been attacked by a dog 3 times. 3 different dogs I've been attacked by. We're going on same lines here. I now have a fear of every dog out there. If a Chihuahua walks up to me, it scares the shit out of me. You know, after I look at it for a little bit, I can think, okay, I can just kick this dog and it'll be all right.
Yeah.
But I've been hospitalized twice because of dogs attacking me. And so, like, I have created this fear of dogs now.
Absolutely.
And so I can see where the officer is coming from, but at the same time, you know, paid leave, you know, obviously he's going to get paid leave. Any officer involved in a shooting is going to get some sort of paid leave.
Of course.
You know, I would say 4 weeks at the max.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But he should have gone back to his original training. I understand he was on edge, you know, and his adrenaline was racing at the time. You see this guy, he reached mildly quick into his car.
It was brisk, but I think it was kind of just like, you know, you see his face when the cop asks him for his license. He's kind of like, and then it was pretty brisk. He reaches into his car, but I think it was just because he was like, what? And he's like, you know what, whatever, let me just get this. And that's why he reached briskly.
On the offhand, you know, when a police officer tells you to do something, you're already a little nervous because the man has a gun.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah,
so you're going to want to do it quickly. You're like, okay, I'm going to get this thing done so I can get out of here. Maybe he won't give me a ticket because I did it perfectly and really quickly.
There is 2 instances where I've been pulled over for speeding. And I have reached into my glove box, and I was shaking like a fucking leaf. And the officer goes, "Sir, why are you shaking?" I said, "Sir, I'm scared. You just pulled me over." Like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a scary situation. You know?
It's not an everyday occurrence. You get the flashing lights behind you. It's like, oh my god, this is happening.
Yeah.
I remember one time I was at a stoplight, and I was texting at the stoplight. I had no idea who's behind me. Stoplight turns green. I put my phone in my pocket and I start to drive away. Look up into the mirror. There's a freaking highway patrol flashing his lights. I'm like, freaking A, because I lived with my parents at the time. I mean, I was only like 17 at the time. I just knew my parents were going to have my ass for this. And so I pull over, dude. Literally a teardrop was getting ready to fall down my cheek. The highway patrol goes around me and gets the next guy. Like, he wasn't for me. I didn't get pulled over. And still, for about 4.5 hours, I couldn't handle my life right there. You know, like, it's nerve-wracking. So, yeah, you're going to briskly reach into your glove compartment. But this just makes me think, because a lot of people say, like, police are going brutal. Police have been targeting African Americans and stuff like that. And, like, I always have thought I'm almost invincible. I feel I'm a very respectable guy. Have never committed a crime, you know. I I live my life a very clean way. I don't want to, just because there's that stereotypical gangster way, Nothing like that. Never committed a crime. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, if an officer ever does pull me over, I'm going to be perfectly fine because I'm good. Then I see this video and it's like, dude, that guy easily could have died. He easily could have died. And I easily could have been in his situation. I probably wouldn't have gotten out the car. But at the same time, I'm at a gas station. Maybe I got pulled over and just like, hey, what's up, officer? Something wrong,
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. And then probably would have briskly reached into my car. Next thing I know, shots are getting fired. What do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do?
I'm completely pro-police, like I was saying earlier. When I always see these videos of police brutality, I always am looking for the ways to defend the cop. Mm-hmm. Like, I am always looking for, this person, the suspect shouldn't have done this, suspect shouldn't have done that. Well, in this case, I don't know if it was a training issue. Like, I really put a lot of it on the fact that the officer was involved in a shooting before. Mm-hmm. But the officer should have looked at his hands. He should have saw his hands that there was no weapon involved at all. If anything, the guy was holding a wallet in his hands. He was holding a wallet. If anything,
I'm 90% sure he fired the first shot before the guy got out of his car. So obviously, if he was grabbing his wallet, he dropped it in his car. No, he had nothing in his hand because when he went like this, nothing dropped.
No, I'm pretty sure he threw something when he turned around. Something fell out of his hand because he got shot, and then he put his hands up. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, I don't know if after a police-involved shooting, if the officer should go through additional training, like retraining maybe. Uh-huh. Or if, obviously a psychologist should be involved to judge the officer's mental state. It's so hard to say because the officer shouldn't just lose his job because he got shot at and he's not mentally fit. Obviously, if he's not mentally fit, he shouldn't be there. Yeah. But you shouldn't just say, okay, this officer is going to make a bad decision because he was shot at.
Right. And the thing is, don't quote me on this. I'm pretty sure he's going to be facing like 15 years in prison.
He was instantly fired after that, correct?
Correct. Instantly fired. Stuff like this normally takes a while before the cop is even in jail. Honestly, it usually takes a good while. But I think because there's so much going on in Ferguson, this guy happened to be African American. And they just knew they're not going to have enough to be able to keep this officer still on the streets. If he would have still been on the streets, there would have been riots, dude. There would have been freaking chaos. Yeah. So, unfortunately, I almost feel like they might have to make an example out of him. That's why he's instantly fired, instantly jailed.
Yeah.
And then the prosecutioners, I don't know how they're going to feel, but if they see it from our point of views, it shows this guy, an innocent guy, one of the most respectable guys I've ever seen, do nothing wrong. He wasn't wearing a seatbelt and he got shot at and his life was almost ended. So
there's that video out too. It was probably 6 months ago where there's a big huge black guy, and he is surrounded by police officers, and one of the police officers jumps on his back and ends up choking him. Mm-hmm. The guy goes down to the ground. He continues choking him. Guy ends up dying.
I remember that. And he was like, I can't breathe. And something along the lines of like they didn't call EMS, or like cops are CPR certified, but they never performed CPR on him. They could have revived him, but they never did.
And like going with that police brutality, that never should have happened in the first place. That's why cops are equipped with X26 tasers. Mm-hmm. That is delivering 50,000 volts to your body. Regardless of your size, that's going to drop you in a second. Mm-hmm. Why did this guy have to choke this guy out?
He did.
I'm pretty sure in my 5 years of training with the police department, I was never taught to choke somebody.
No.
You have beat sticks, which
night sticks.
We call them asps, but yeah, beat sticks, But yeah, you have those, which I think is a little overuse of force. I would rather be tased than to be hit with the stick and have my bones broken.
True.
They have pepper spray.
I'd rather be pepper sprayed, tased, and have my bone broken by a nightstick rather than dying.
Yeah. They have all these tools at their disposal. Yet some crazy son of a bitch decided he was going to choke this guy out. If I am personally in a fight with somebody. I'm out at the bar. Someone decides they wants to fight me, and he's a big son of a bitch. Okay, I'm probably gonna choke his ass out
because that's all you can do.
Yeah.
But if you
there
have
was 4 to 5 of them.
If you have a taser on you and a nightstick on you, and it's legal to use them,
if you're behind him and you're gonna choke him out, Just, ties him in the back. He's down.
You have a lot of options. Throw his ass in handcuffs, dude. Yeah. You have like a lot of options there.
All right. But if you guys got anything else to say, let's get it out now. We got to start wrapping this up.
What I just want to say real quick is police brutality. It has seemed like lately there's been a lot of officers going crazy. But you do have to remember there has also been a lot of people going crazy. I do think police brutality has become a bigger issue. But I don't want to say it's necessarily their fault. And I don't want to say cops are bad people. Just maybe the 4 people who use excessive force, they're fucked up, Yeah. Cops are still good people. They're here to serve and protect. No matter what, they're going to protect us. Guarantee you if someone comes into this house right now and tries to rob us, we call cops over here. They might shoot me, but either way, they're still going to go for the criminal.
Yeah, we're okay.
Yeah, you guys are okay, so that's what
you're
matters.
Wearing a hat. You're kind of screwed.
No, I'm wearing it forward, correctly bent, and without a sticker, so I'm not a douchebag like some of you motherfuckers out there.
We're just kidding. We love you all, and it's just great to express who you are. Honestly, it's kind of cool just to see what angle you can put your hat on in. But what we're getting at is... never mind. What we're getting at is cops are good people. I think we all love the cops, and it's just... Don't necessarily spend our money to get stuff that you don't need, that you won't be trained to use. Would you guys agree with that?
Definitely.
Completely.
But continue to serve and protect. Guys, be careful. Please don't shoot innocent people. But we understand, if there's some sketchy freaking people running after you, your heart's gonna decide. Your brain's not gonna make a logical decision. Your adrenaline's gonna make the decision for you. And that's what I have to say. This was freaking Mr. Chocolate. That's what I gotta say about it. Anything for you?
Go ahead, Tracker.
I think they about summed it up. MB Tracker here signing out.
I'm going to say, a lot of this police brutality issue, I want to blame a lot of it on social media. The fact that everybody has a cell phone, everybody has a video camera of some sort on them now. Mm-hmm. Just like the Ray Rice issue that we talked about a couple weeks ago. It's all because there's video cameras everywhere. I'm sure this has all been the same way it has been in the past.
Absolutely.
But now because of social media, everything just explodes. I'm all for the police department. Thank you guys so much for your service. I appreciate you guys. If you pull me over, please don't get a ticket if you're watching this. But, thank you guys again. I am pro police department. And right now, this is Man Steel 14 signing out.
Let us know what you guys think about this. This is a good topic. Comment down below. Let us know what you think, you guys. We'll see you next episode. Signing out.